I'm not so sure the society is very helpful to parents who are separating. I think we could do a better job becoming better at supporting people. You know, it's a difficult time when you separate. You don't want somebody to make it even worse for you. Well, just simply by even alluding to the fact that the child's problems are caused by you guys fighting. So it's almost like, don't you understand that when you fight like this, that's why he's having these problems in the school, and now we need therapy, and maybe no brief therapy, we need long therapy. They are so traumatized from your fighting. And now you are blaming the parents for causing mental disturbance to their own child. They are not going to say, oh, thank you for pointing that out, now I will start to collaborate with my husband or wife. They will feel blamed and they will feel that you are right. So then they will blame the other parent even more. And now you are adding fuel to the fire. So I think we have to be very mindful of how we discuss with these people. If I'm fighting with my ex-wife and you are thinking you are doing a service to me and you are saying, don't you understand, when you fight like that with your ex-wife, you're making things worse for your child. You say that to me. I have to agree. I have to say, yes, it's true, the child is suffering from this, but it's not my fault. It's his fault, her fault. If it's me, then it's my ex-wife's fault. So I will start to develop theories about how narcissistic my ex-wife is, how difficult person, how she has a personality disorder, how my therapist even said that she must have a personality disorder. So I start to use psychiatric explanations to why my ex-wife is so difficult. I will not say, oh, you're right, I am the difficult one. I should change my way and be much more soft. This is not going to happen. I start to blame and use psychiatric labels and use psychiatric explanations even more. This will not bring us closer together. The more I put psychiatric labels on my ex-wife, the more she will put psychiatric labels on me. It's much better to be complimenting them for, you're having a hard time, and despite the hard time, you're still doing this right and that right, and your children have these positive qualities, and they've done well in school, and they are able to stay at their grandmother, and start to look at the whole thing from a different perspective. I think we need to think differently. That if I were to try to help a couple like that, so I would suggest that instead of blaming them for causing their children to have a lot of symptoms, or blaming each other for whatever symptoms the children have, I would like to turn it around and look at what the parents are doing right. In the midst of all the things that they are doing wrong, I would like to, with a magnifying glass, hey, look, he said that to you and you stayed calm? That must have been difficult. How were you able to stay calm in a situation like that? Wow, oh, you're doing it for your own child. Well, you try to look at what the parents are doing right, what you can compliment them, what you can see that they are doing good. And you also try to see the grandparents, even if they are doing sometimes things that you think this is only making it worse. But you try to see what they are doing right that might be useful. And maybe they need a small compliment too about being involved, having taken care of the child in the difficult times. They have also done something right. So I think almost like changing the discourse, the way people are talking about this whole blah. So when we are working as mediators, our job is to get each party to say something positive about the other party. So if you are, let's say you are the husband or the wife, you are the wife, and you are very angry at your husband for doing all kinds of shitty things and calling you names and texting you and doing all awful things, and the lawyer is, idiot and so on, then my job would be to find out something good about your husband, your wife, something that you can say. First, I have to sympathize with you. It must be a very difficult situation. And you never thought that you would end up in a situation like this. Do you have friends who are in similar situation? Oh, yes, you have. I see. So we are kind of starting to say that this is a difficult situation that many people get in their lives. There's nothing wrong with you. Anybody can get into that situation. Many people have been in that situation. It's a situation that anybody can have. It's an unfortunate situation, but it is nothing wrong with you. Actually, you have been doing maybe many good things. But tell me more about the good things that you have done that's been helpful. What has helped you? And only after you feel that I am quite respectful of the few things that you've done right, I can slowly start to say, is there anything that he or she has done that's also been at least a little bit helpful? Then, because we have complimented you, indirectly of course, of the many things that you have done right, now you are more generous, because if somebody is, complimenting you, you are more willing to compliment others. And suppose you say, I can think nothing good to say about him or her, I can always say, we can come back to that later. Letting the idea simmer, cook, as the person will know that sooner or later I will again ask, so is there anything that you can compliment him for? I think my job is to work like a mediator, and a mediator, the mediator's job is to help people to collaborate. Of course, they don't collaborate if they don't start to say something good about each other. And our job is to kind of milk. You are milking it out. You said that one good thing about him is that he has been paying attention to the children. Okay, so despite the fact that you've had quite some arguments, you've even been to the court. Wow. But he is still paying attention to the children and showing love to the children. Okay, so in that way you are lucky. Yes, in that way I'm lucky. Does he know that you appreciate that he takes so good care? I think so. So you haven't directly said it to him. Do you think it would help if you told him that in some way? I mean, if he really saw that you are saying something good about him. And by the way, if I was to ask your husband, your ex-husband, sorry. So if I was to ask him what good thing he would say about you, what do you think he would say? So I'm kind of getting a new conversation going through questions, and I think it's important. It's not only, this is not only true for divorced parents. This is true for any kind of conflicts that people. And they could bring supporters.
The parents
Parents can bring supporters to the session. Now, normally you would bring the lawyers. Maybe not such a good idea, because they're already directed into kind of a let's fight for the best.
So you ask each parent which supporter could you bring, and if they mention somebody who would escalate the conflict, you say, well, who else could you bring?
Yeah, who else could we bring, so that the other person would say, yeah, that's a good idea. So maybe you have a prejudice that both parties can find one supporter who they think, who they can think of, who the other person will accept. Now they both have a supporter, and your job as a mediator becomes much easier. You can start to relax because there is support. There are people who care about the children, who care about that this discussion goes on. So first you compliment and you find, but sometimes people don't know what that means, so you have to give enough stories to kind of open up what are you complimenting them for. And you can also arrange things so that there is something to compliment, so you kind of did some preparation so that it was possible to compliment them. And then you look at what positive changes already happened and try to find a microscope or a magnifying glass to see some positive change. If you succeed in talking about them, then you automatically do success analysis. Then you go like, how do you explain it? How come you have made some progress? You said that you were able to agree about Christmas. How did you do that? It's difficult to agree. Christmas is one of the biggest, blah, 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 blah. So then you invite people to start to analyze the things where they did succeed. And if you're lucky, then this positive development that was already there, you capitalize on that one and you analyze it. And you say, well, could we use similar, would it be possible to use similar approach to talking about the school or the, I don't know, money? Or, no, that's the most difficult. But because you have a mandate, and your mandate is the well-being of the children, so then you have a mandate to ask all these questions that could be helpful for the children. And you can even a little bit educate people. Did you know that the better you talk with each other about these things, and if you can do that without lawyers, that will benefit your children. You don't have to say, if you don't do it, they will suffer. It's more like they will be happier and they will be more successful in school, and they will have an easier time to adapt, and they will be happier with you, and they will smile at you, and they will want to visit you. So you kind of sell the idea that it would be beneficial to develop a way of communicating that is good for the children. What I wanted to mention was this idea that suppose there's nothing you can do, or you are convinced that there's nothing you can do, so you can always help the children. There is the concept of resiliency. The children are suffering because their parents are fighting and maybe asking them questions and maybe saying criticism of the other parent. So we can also help the children deal with this awful situation. Yeah, it's unpleasant, but come on, there are many unpleasant things in life. So then you start to work with the children, and you start to discuss with them about how they can become better at dealing with it. Like one teacher said to the girl, I have the story in my book, the teacher says, I want you to learn a skill. The parents had just divorced, they were fighting like hell, and she was always involved because she's like 12 years old, and she's like, when the mother is on the phone, she's listening very carefully what they are talking about. Mother is very angry at the father, and the teacher said to the teacher, the retired teacher who worked with the girl, said, I want you to learn a skill. The skill is when your parents are fighting, you get the fuck out of it. So you go upstairs, you take your little brother, and you learn you don't listen to their fights. They will fight, it will go over, it will last some time, probably after some time they will fight less and less and less. So that's what you need to learn. And then the girl said, yes, that's the skill that she needs to learn. That's like a resilience skill. These are skills that you can teach or help the child learn and develop, and they will allow the child to deal better. So I've even developed a book, like a workbook for children, where it's called Happy with Two Homes. Not only can you do mediation, if that's out of the question, then you can do resiliency training with the children, and if they are 2 children or 3 children, maybe they can support each other.